Welcome into the podcast. I'm Brett.
I'm Dorian.
And today is our Thursday throwback, The Phantom Menace. Now, again, for those of you who have been following, we're going in a different order for our Thursday throwback editions of our Star Wars movies. We're going 4, 5. Now we're in episode 1.
Yep.
The reason for that is we get to review in 5 that Vader is Luke's father, so we're getting his backstory now.
Yep.
So let's talk about our first impressions watching this movie.
So I remember loving this movie as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Probably about, I don't know, I want to say 7 or 8 at the time. I loved the action. I loved the story. Heck, I even loved Jar Jar Binks. And I just remember being stoked that we were getting more Star Wars movies. And that we were getting, you know, more expanded lore, more details about the Jedi. Just because, I mean, again, like in the previous movies, you know, there's only like 2 Jedi in there.
Yeah. For me, I'm kind of the same boat as you. I was 9 or 10, roughly the same age as Anakin, and I loved it. Always watched it at my cousin's house. That was just like when I'd go stay with them, or even when we got a little bit older, that was one of the movies we rented all the time. Yeah. Like, it was like Major Payne, Good Burger, and Episode 1.
Man, Blockbuster was like it was the stuff back then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was an experience.
They were your weekend. Like,
oh, big time.
Like movies, freaking games, everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, I loved watching this movie. Loved Jar Jar. I loved the lightsaber action. It was great. Yeah. Lots of great memories watching it growing up. So let's talk about how'd it hold up.
It doesn't. I mean that.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get the brass tacks. Like, this is a kid's movie.
Oh yeah, very much more than any of the other movies.
Yes, very much so. And it's you know, I mean, just like, you know, most kid movies that you watch when you grow up, they just don't hold up as well. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, so here's the thing. A lot of people hate the actor who played Anakin.
Now, I don't hate the actor. I just hate his acting.
Sure.
I mean,
same difference. I know you're talking about.
I mean,
it's hard to not take it out on the actor, right? But he is just a kid, and that's kind of my point. Is like, you have a 9-year-old or 8. I don't know how old he was. He's playing a 9-year-old, and he's a kid actor. That's what he is. He's not a thespian actor. He's not like. It's just a different level, I think, than what we're getting now with different shows that are coming out that have kids in them.
Well, I mean, and the thing is like, you know, one of the hardest things that in Hollywood is like, in terms of like, you know, essentially for like casting characters or actors, is animals and kids. Yeah. It's not easy. Now, granted, that's not to say that you can't have a kid actually act well. I mean, we've seen that, and that's kind of my point is like, we've like, you know, Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone.
Okay.
I mean,
go rewatch that.
Really?
He's not a great actor.
Is he not?
No, he's a kid. Like this kid could have been in that role.
I don't know.
Have you seen him in Richie Rich?
I have not.
He sucks in that.
Does he?
Macaulay Culkin sucks in that movie.
Okay.
I think honestly it comes down to directing and writing.
Yeah.
It's not the kid's fault. The director's job is to make sure that these takes happen and happen well.
No, and that's ultimately like where like my you know, major criticism with this kid's acting is like, I don't really blame it on him, just because here's the thing. If you know, you or I at that time when we were kids, somebody came up to us and said, "Hey, you want to be in a Star Wars movie?" You'd be like, who do we need to kill to do this here? You know, like, of course we're going to want to be in the Star Wars movie. It doesn't matter like what our acting chops are going to be. We'd just be stoked to be in a Star Wars movie.
100%.
And yeah, so I mean, no, he got the dream come true of like being a kid in a Star Wars movie. And the thing is like, yeah, no, whoever the casting director, the writer, or, you know, the director, in this case, George Lucas, you know, not actually like saying, okay, yeah, you need to punch up this line more. You need to like show more emotion, not make it look like you're reading off of like a teleprompter or something like that. Yeah, no, I absolutely put all blame with him, just because, I mean, no, again, he is a kid, but at the same time, like, you know, his acting is I think probably the part I think is like I think it is the worst part of this movie for me, at least here. I think it just kind of takes me out of it. But again, it's not the kid's fault. It's really just like the people kind of surrounding him and enabling him to, act the way he is.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But I mean, a couple other things that I just kind of made some notes here about like what doesn't hold up. I mean, just kind of cheesy and bad acting, kind of like all around here. Like Smee, like
Shimmy.
Yeah, Shmi, yeah. Like just very blank, I feel like, and like
Kind of blah.
yeah, very bland. But yeah, I mean, CGI, like George Lucas really was dipping his like, you know how some people like to dip their toe in the pool? Mm-hmm. He cannonballed into that CGI pool basically. So, and I mean, it's, late 90s, early 2000s CGI, and it's not even like, I would say like most of it is just not really that great here, in all honesty. It does not hold up well. The droids and like that whole like hangar scene in the Trade Federation, blah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just the pacing in this movie is just straight up bad here. You literally start out kind of like in the middle of conflict, like you're just kind of caught up in the middle of this thing that's going on. And then like, then it slows down to like go talk to some Gungans. Then you save the queen. Then it slows down to like, mess around on Tatooine. And then you have pod racing. Then it slows down to like do a bunch of political talk on Coruscant. Then you go back to Naboo, and then actually stuff starts happening at that point here. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of seems like it's, kind of like putting its foot on the gas and then braking, and then putting its foot on the gas and braking. I feel like a lot of points in this movie. But midichlorians.
What exactly are midichlorians?
I mean,
no, it was an interesting way to describe what the potential
works
for force sensitive people are.
Well, right. And I mean,
I think you had to have a way of Qui Gon being like, this kid's going to be exceptionally powerful.
I understand that, but I feel like there is a better way to go about it here, because I mean, the thing is like in the original movies, you described or the Force as kind of something like spiritual or something of nature or something like that. Whereas this is like, oh yeah, this is like this boring science talk that I'm going to give you real quick here, kid. And this is the reason why people can like, have space magic.
Well, I think part of it was he was trying to explain the Force to a child.
Yeah.
And so he used it as like, well, it's like the living Force and us need to live together. It's symbiotic.
Yeah.
Like, it uses us, we use it.
Yeah.
It goes and flows through all living things. I think it's the same kind of concept, just not mysticized as much in the the original trilogy.
Yeah. I mean, but even then I'd be like, I prefer that. Like, just give the ObiWan explanation.
Sure.
I mean, that would have been like a really cool tie-in, just because it would have been like, okay, this is how Obi-Wan's master probably explained it to him. Now he's explaining it to this kid.
Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan is kind of like using that to explain that to Luke here,
right.
But
yeah, I would say the CGI definitely doesn't hold up.
Yeah. And there's just some dialogue in this that is just...
It's pretty bad.
Straight up awful. Like that one scene where like they're in the Naboo ship and like he's talking to Padme.
Yeah, she's like,
oh my gosh, it's
Annie,
so cringy.
I don't need this to... It was like a weird like romantic scene almost between a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old.
It's so weird and just kind of... Yeah.
It's cringy is what it is.
So cringy. No, I mean, and I'm gonna say something that will probably get me in some trouble here. I am kind of a Gungan racist.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't mind them. They're fine.
I mean, here's the thing. They got some pretty cool cities. They got like some pretty cool like warfare tactics. You got like shields and like just shot grenades and all that. I think that's cool. I think just like them, like how they talk and just pretty much they're just kind of a joke for the most part.
I think underlying that's what these people are in this movie is comic relief.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously Jar Jar is, but when you was a talker like this, how would you not be taken serious? Like, how would you be taken seriously? Period.
No, exactly, and I think that's kind of the main issue. Like, just have them have like their own language. Don't have them try to like have the English language like or basic in this one, and then like try to make something work with that and like spin it off to make it something unique. I just
Sure.
don't think it worked out very well. It's like you can't take them seriously, and I think that's the reason why you don't really see any Gungans actually popping up in like other Star Wars, media.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So let's get into some characters now. We're not going to go into extreme depth on this because I feel like we're going to talk about them more as the movies progress too.
well, and even in this one, I feel like there's just not like a whole lot of depth to like the characters in this one. They're kind of
Bland.
very basic. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, kind of notably. I mean, we're going to talk about Qui Gon because he's probably the most interesting, I think, out of all of them.
No, I mean he is.
Obviously, Obi-Wan becomes a baller.
No.
Like later on, like I would say from episode 2 or episode 1, he's pretty good.
Really?
Character development wise, he becomes more of a baller in episode 2 and 3.
Yeah, character development wise, I would agree with that. I
mean, he did defeat Maul.
No, he does.
But he's not in the movie that much. Like he's back on the ship.
He's kind of a secondary character for
Yeah.
the most part. Yeah, but no, Obi-Wan. I do
Love Ewan McGregor's the best part. Ewan McGregor is probably the best part of the prequels.
I can see that. I mean, I think he's definitely the thing that holds up, or one of the things that definitely holds up.
Samuel L. Jackson, obviously.
Yeah, which he just sits and does nothing. What a waste of Samuel L. Jackson in this movie.
I love it when in the next movie when he's out there being a baller.
Next, like, yeah, movie 2 and 3. I mean, it's like he actually does stuff and it's great. But no, it's no, in this movie, I do feel like Obi-Wan is pretty cool in this movie. I think he is cool in a sense, cooler than he is in 2 or 3. Reason being is just because a lot of times in 2 and 3, he's kind of getting his butt kicked. He's kind of relying on Anakin to save him a whole bunch. Here he's actually showing his like kind of competency and like independence as being a fighter, being a warrior. I mean, takes down Darth Maul.
Okay. He also takes down Anakin Skywalker.
No, he does. And I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, like, you do like in episode 2, episode 3, you do see like him kind of played up more for like some type of like comedic moments or comedic relief with like Anakin having to like, do something or help him out or something like that. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I just feel like here it's just like, okay, no, Obi-Wan's just going to be straight up cool in this movie, regardless of like, what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about Qui-Gon then.
Yeah.
I mean, you have opinions about him. I have opinions about him. I'll let you go first, and then I'll tell you that you're wrong.
Okay. And I will tell you that I'm right. So first off, so Qui-Gon is kind of the worst Jedi.
He's not, but continue.
So right from the get-go, like one of his first lines, like when they're on the Trade Federation blockade ship, Obi-Wan's like, I got a bad feeling about this, and
which
like,
classic? That's a throwback to to Han Solo.
Yeah, exactly. But Qui-Gon's like, I don't sense anything. What you talking about here? And so
yeah, I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, but also he saves Jar Jar.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's enough said. But also, he like when he's like before the Gungan Council, like bartering like a bartering
life debt.
Bartering for the life debt. He's like, oh, this Gungan could be some help. He's like, nope, he really wasn't. I mean, he
did get them to have an alliance with the people of Naboo,
right? But not in the way that he was thinking initially here. Like, saying like, okay, we got to navigate through this here. This Gungan might be able to help us with that. Blah blah blah. And
he's a local.
Yeah, but I mean, did you see him like actually give him directions on like when?
No, but they ended up making that alliance, and that's the only reason they even had a chance.
Yeah,
was from the Gungans.
Yeah, pretty much. But I can't mind trick Watto. Now
you can't mind trick everyone. Only weak-minded people.
Sure, no, I understand that. But does Watto strike you as a strong-minded person?
Yeah, he's a businessman.
I don't know.
He owns a whole shop and stuff. And some species are like completely like it doesn't work on them.
Is that canon?
That's canon.
Okay,
it's in the movie.
Well, right, but
the movie's canon.
But I don't know. I just feel like that was like just like lazy writing on that part here, but I don't know.
Well, lazy would have been if he actually could mind trick him and then just take Anakin.
I mean, well, that would be called like really efficient writing, I guess, in terms of like, which that's like, you can do that with like almost any movie here. But anyhow, I mean, I think, and my theory is when they're at the dinner table and Anakin's asking him about his lightsaber, he's like, well, what if I just killed a Jedi and I took it from him? I feel like he might have been telling the truth on that one here.
I mean, you could think what you want to think.
I mean,
I think that they're. I mean, that'd be hilarious if they came out later and said that was true. But
that would be absolutely.
He
hilarious.
wouldn't have the Force training or anything like that. Like,
I mean, well, it would explain like his mentality of like the Force here. You know, just because like he could have just been Force sensitive, and like, you know, just perceived the Force in that way, and then just, you know, somehow found his way into like, you know, the Jedi Order and blah blah blah. But he's kind of like a very reckless character in this. Like, you know, he just bets the Queen's ship that he doesn't own just to like go into like enter into a pod racing tournament, potentially completely stranding them there for like, you know, for the who knows how long.
I think you have to think too, like Jedi can have visions and see into the future, so he could have been pretty sure about, you know, betting it, and
Sure.
then if it didn't work out, he'd figure something out.
Which,
I guess.
I mean, you know, but apparently he couldn't see Anakin turning to the dark side or like any of the other danger that.
Well, no, neither could Yoda or anyone.
Well, no, Yoda did.
He said it's clouded.
Well, but he says like, you know,
I sense these emotions in you, but I can't see your future.
But he also said like later on with ObiWan, he's like, grave danger I fear in this training. And even ObiWan, when he's having that conversation with Qui Gon, he says like, you know, the Council has deemed the boy dangerous. Why can't you see that here? Like we all know that this is what's going on. Like, why are you unable to sense this?
Maybe he did. Maybe he saw further than any of them did, where Anakin actually does bring balance to the Force.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know, but
try explaining that to your superior. Hey, he's gonna kill all of us,
but it's cool.
But it's fine because he kills bad guys.
Okay, so real quick, so I do have something that maybe you can clarify for me. So balance to the Force. Why do the Jedi want that if that requires them to be wiped out here?
They don't know. I don't think they understand what that means.
Okay.
Because they don't want them all to be wiped out.
Right. So, but
balance to them is the light is there to protect others and there's no evil.
Right. And that's how I always interpreted it like as a kid is like, okay, yes, this is like, because like, you know, when he eventually does bring balance to the Force in Empire Strikes Back, you know, he essentially, you know, kills himself and, you know, kills Sidious here. So now there's only just Luke, who's just the only Jedi, and that's like the only Force user that is like, you know, a light side user here.
Well, and then you see the rise of, you know, other entities within the Force, like that will bring the Force will just keep correcting itself, I guess.
I mean,
like there was no after Luke, there's nothing, and then all of a sudden Rey gets superpowers, craziness, I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer for that.
Okay, all right. Well, anyhow, I mean, obviously brought Anakin into the fold. Didn't go well for the Jedi Order here.
It did not.
Nope. So I mean, and you know, puts Anakin, a kid, in danger like multiple times. Like says, "Hey, you know this super dangerous pod racing thing going on?
Yeah, do it.
Just do it. You know, we need money." And then like at the final battle, he's like bringing him along to like, you know, hey, bring your kid to work day type thing here, like where they're getting shot at and having to fight Sith lords, and he's like, hey, just hide out in this ship, you know, it'll all be fine, you know, and you won't like nothing bad will happen to you. You'll be safe up there.
So, and I'm kind of different than you in that. I understand why he brought him with him. Like, I'm trying to think of it through the lens of you're a Jedi, you're trying to protect this boy and get him back, right? You're not just going to leave him somewhere that the Sith could go find him and kill him at.
I mean,
Like if you feel like you're the best shot this kid has to survive, I'm gonna take him with me.
yeah, but
Same with like any normal situation in life. Like let's say, like someone was after me and my wife. I'm not
Okay.
just gonna lock my wife in a house and hope that she's gonna be safe and try to go fight this guy. I'm like, all right, come with me. I'm gonna protect you.
Well, and here's my counter argument to that. They were in Coruscant, right?
They were in Coruscant.
Yeah. They
Wait, during the fight, they're on Naboo.
No, I know that, but I'm saying like before going to Naboo and going into essentially what is going to be dangerous territory, like he could have left them there, and he could have left them with the Jedi and could have been totally safe there and all that. But instead it's like, hey, I got to go do this dangerous thing. It's like here's the thing, I'm not a dad, so I can't really speak to this, but just based on like just common sense and logic, if I had to say, hey son, I got to go do something dangerous here, it's probably not safe for you. You want to come along and hang out? Like that's just not how you do it.
Right.
But anyhow, I get it because it's just they had to write Anakin in the script to just do something important and whatnot. But yeah, but apparently, yeah, he's also defied the Jedi Council multiple times. And
yeah, it's pretty normal thing.
Yeah, it's a normal thing.
That's why he's not a Jedi Master.
Well, right, and I'm really surprised on like why he hasn't been like expelled yet here. I mean, I find that
probably because he still gets stuff done. It's just not necessarily how they want it done.
Yeah, that's true. But I think a lot of people do oversee these things just because it is Liam Neeson. And here's the thing: I love Liam Neeson. He's one of my favorite actors to watch on screen. So yeah.
All right, so we'd already talked about kind of some of the things that we noticed on the rewatch. Let's talk about a couple more. So
yeah. So
you talked about how we could get thrown in the middle of conflict.
Right, yeah. I mean, like the opening crawl, like, pretty much establishes like almost right from the get-go, like say, hey, there's this dispute going on between this planet and essentially this big trade company for the most part, saying that, yeah, they're doing this stuff. And so now we're bringing you up to speed on like what's going on right now here, I mean, kind of almost reminiscent of like A New Hope, where like they just start you out with the Empire chasing the rebels and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's.
So I was gonna say that it's not like that hasn't happened before.
Yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, very. I would say, like, just from the opening crawl, it's already a more political movie than like any of the original movies were.
Yeah, because there wasn't really a political system like there was. It's pretty much the Empire, nothing.
Well, yeah, just Empire just being a dictatorship for the most part.
Yeah, and so I actually enjoyed the political part of it as an adult because you get to see how Palpatine. Because at this point, we don't know Palpatine is.
Yeah.
Like this, we don't know this guy Palpatine is the Emperor.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I mean, I don't know. I felt like even as a kid,
as a kid, I knew.
Yeah, even as a kid, as I knew, I'm like, okay,
the characters don't know that either.
Sure,
like,
exactly. No, I get what you're saying.
So it's essentially the political pieces are to explain how Sheev Palpatine became the Chancellor, and then because of the war, he got all the power.
Right.
He had in the Empire Strikes, or in the new Empire. Basically.
Well, yeah, in the Republic here, he became essentially, the president of the Republic,
and then becomes dictator because of the war.
Yep, for the most part. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying that like the politics in this are bad. I just think it's kind of weird and like I don't know. I kind of feel like they get like a little caught up in like lingo and like
big time.
Some pretty complicated stuff for a kid's movie here.
Yeah, it goes over my head.
Yeah, but one thing that actually really surprised me during this rewatch when Qui Gon is talking to the boss Gungan, he like uses the mind trick to get the speeder. I don't know how I missed that. Like in all the times that I've watched this, but I think this is the first time I noticed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I don't know. Probably because they just didn't draw a whole lot of attention to it.
No, they didn't. It's pretty cash.
Yeah. But like I said earlier, George Lucas really, really likes that CGI here.
It's not good.
No, and I mean, I'm really surprised, just kind of given how, like...
Here's the deal, too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad, like, for the time. Like, this was 20 years ago.
Right, yeah.
21 years ago.
I mean, for the time, I think, yes, like, this was, this was passable. This was definitely, like, something that was accepted here. And, I mean, but it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, I still kind of scratch my head a little bit about that just because when he did, like, the special editions that did include, like, CGI and stuff like that, that wasn't like particularly well received.
No.
And even like some of the things like like all the ships and like a lot of the areas in this movie are very sleek looking, not like how they look, which essentially is like going to be 30 years or 17 years down the line in like, New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Empire, where they kind of have a more like rugged and like more kind of like a junk together feel. And I understand that's like just because of the limitations of the movie making during that time. But it's like, it's kind of interesting that they didn't try to like really, find a way to, make that in there. So, but we're going to take a quick break and then we are going to come back with some more talk on Phantom Menace.
We are back.
We are back.
All right, so let's keep talking about the things that we noticed on this rewatch.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed this time around is Warwick Davis, the guy who plays the main Ewok in Return of the Jedi. Yeah, Wicket. He is in the crowd for the pod racing. He's actually sitting right next to Watto here and all that. So I did not realize who that was until like just this recent rewatch. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So and then Anakin is not good at building pod racers, especially like watching, because this is the first time I think I've watched the remastered Blu-ray or like the special edition Blu-ray version of Episode 1 where they have like multiple scenes of or added scenes and all that.
Yeah.
There's that part where like legitimately like the carriage part of his pod racer comes completely undone and he's just spinning around here, and it stalls like right before like even starting the race. So I'm like, you gotta work on that.
That engineering.
You got.
I mean, he is 9.
He is 9, but yeah, I mean, you gotta put that in the shop for a little bit longer, kid.
Right.
But yeah, and something that I was just kind of thinking about more, just in comparison with like the original trilogy, like they're definitely retreading some old ground here. So I mean, like you have a Jedi Master that's picking up a young boy on Tatooine.
Yep.
And then that Jedi Master ends up dying in the same movie and passes his mentorship off to a different Jedi to train the prodigy essentially. And then the fighter pilots have to destroy a space station in the final battle in order to win the day, just like in the New Hope, only it's the Death Star. And there's a big parade at the end that's kind of similar to like the award ceremony in
similar.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's pretty much what I really noticed on this rewatch. You notice anything new, different?
Nothing that really stands out as far as like, because I do remember this movie pretty well. Like, I don't think anything was like, oh man. It was just like the movie's heavily CGI'd. That was definitely apparent, especially in some scenes. Some scenes you're like, oh, it actually looks fine.
Yeah.
Other scenes you're like, ooh.
Well, yeah, like the pod racing scene, I will say, like
that looks good.
That actually does hold up pretty well, and I think the reason why is just because they're going so fast, they can hide like a lot of blemishes in like the CGI. Because you might have noticed like in some movies that come out, like you might have like a CGI monster or character in like maybe a lower light setting, or like or they're kind of obscured, and typically that's just a trick that they do to hide like blemishes for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all right, so I got some questions about this movie here. Maybe you might be able to give some clarity, seeing how you kind of do. You know more about like the extended lore. You watch Clone Wars, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why they did not show them like going through the planet's core? Because they were talking about when they were going on the, getting the transport or like the underwater speeder in the Gungan city, like you had to pass through the planet core and all that. And
I don't honestly remember that at all.
Oh, you don't remember that? Like all right, I don't know, but I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. They were talking about that. It kind of sounded like they were making a big deal about it, but they don't actually show you going to the planet's core here.
Well, I think what they meant as the planet's core is maybe like the deep, like where they saw those huge monsters.
Yeah.
That could have potentially been it. I
don't know, but okay.
Probably more of a time thing too. Who cares about more speeder underwater stuff?
I don't know. It's like when you hype it up like that.
I don't think they hyped it up that much.
I mean, like the one scene they totally did, because they like mentioned the planet's core like 5 times.
I don't even remember that.
I'll have to show it to you, but
yeah.
But no, I mean, like we discussed earlier, it's kind of a weird tone for this movie, for it to be like it's a kids movie.
Yeah.
But it's also like got a lot of political stuff going on at the same time here, you know?
So, and I guess like the only way I would defend that is if you go back and watch cartoons, right?
Yeah.
There's obviously jokes a kid's not going to get.
Sure, exactly. Yeah.
So that's there for the adults.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's a really weird design choice for like pod racing to have like essentially NASCAR commentators here.
Well, think about NASCAR.
Well, right. But I mean, it's like...
It's a less cool version of pod racing.
Well, no, you are correct on that front here. But that being said, it's like, it just feels very like un-Star Wars-y to me. Like, you know, you typically would like, I don't know, it would just be like done as like... It would just happen or something like that. You wouldn't have like...
Sure.
You don't try to have like Star Wars like replicate like, you know, actual life. That's, I think, one of the reasons why people are, you know, drawn to it, just because it's escapism here.
And it still is. I just think it was just a nuance that they went with. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But so okay, so they so at the beginning of the movie, they are able to get past the blockade that is trying to stop them from leaving Naboo, and it does it like pretty, like they almost do it basically. Like they almost actually didn't make it out of that blockade from getting shot down. Coming back to Naboo, it's like, oh yeah, it's easy. Like,
yeah, I don't know about that. I have no idea.
I think probably lazy writing on that one here, but so okay, my question is, what did the Trade Federation have to gain from like teaming up with Sidious per se? Because,
what did the Trade Federation have to gain?
Right, because I wasn't completely clear on like what they were getting out of this deal, because obviously, you know, you're just kind of like just this trade company that's so far, at least like in the beginning of the movie, abiding by like the rules of the Republic, and then this shady figure comes along. You basically like all of a sudden, like, you know, are calling him like your lord here. And then you're questioning him, then you're questioning, like, should we have made this deal? There's 2 of them now. Like, this is getting sketchy. Like what was, you know, promised to him here? Or like
probably like just Naboo, like planets. Like, I don't know if the droid army came from the Trade Federation, if it came from Sidious himself. Like, it could have came from Sidious. So I would say manpower and the potential to acquire more assets. Yeah, I mean, it just seems kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, this is probably just a writing thing, but it's just kind of weird that, you know, the Viceroy and like his cronies and all that, you know, they're pretty featured heavily in this movie for the most part. They are essentially like bad guys. Yeah, they are like for lack of a better term, like they are the main bad guys of this movie, even though there are like, you know, there's Maul and Sidious like kind of in the background doing stuff here for the most part. I think it shows the ability for Sidious to kind of manipulate people too. Right, but I mean, like it just,
I'm just kind of curious, and like it's just something that I just kind of found weird that we don't really get their motivations really explained.
Because they're bad, duh.
Yeah, I guess. But
yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest.
yeah, but and I mean, I guess this whole thing was just all a ploy just to get Palpatine elected chancellor.
100%. Yeah.
I mean,
manipulating again.
yeah. So, but how does Jar Jar kill more droids than like the actual Gungan warriors out there? Like Jar Jar accidentally kills like more droids than like.
Oh yeah, when he has that on his like leg or whatever, and he's jumping around and it's shooting people.
In general, like you know,
cannon,
yeah, the cannon, yeah, all that stuff, yeah.
Because it's George Lucas likes comic relief.
I guess so. I mean, I think really what they were going for with Jar Jar is they were really trying to make him like the new Chewbacca, you know, for the most part. But it's
pretty
like,
much.
But it's like, okay, we don't want to do like the same. We don't want to do like a, you know, kind of the same deal. So we want to try to like maybe do something a little bit more unique with it. But yeah, I just didn't quite stick. But and was there like a real point for like Padme to like be having a decoy as queen, like other than just to like be a plot twist like to the story wise or whatnot? Because I mean, I get the safety part of it, but it's like she's like literally like right there in the same crowd with the queen. She gets arrested with the queen, all this stuff. It's like, wouldn't it make more sense if like the queen was like over here and then Padme was like in like a bunker somewhere or something like that? That way she could actually still, you know, not be taken prisoner or something like that. I don't know.
People have body doubles for a reason.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean,
I thought it was a cool twist too. Like it's essentially you're figuring out that this lady, you know, she's going kind of with this Jedi because I think they don't trust them quite either, and she's actually the queen. You're like, oh,
yeah.
As a kid, it's a cool plot twist.
Yeah, no, as a kid, it is a cool plot twist. But yeah, yeah, no, that's pretty.
I just thought it was super weird that she was 14 and got elected.
Well, right, and even like, I mean, you and I were discussing this later. Like, I have no idea how Star Wars elections go, but
it's a democracy.
Yeah, it's a democracy. So if it's similar to like how elections go in real life, typically you kind of have to plaster your face on places. You basically are a pretty well-known public figure and all this other business here. So it's kind of like, so how is she not recognized as the queen here, you know, like when she's like pretending to be a handmaiden or whatnot?
Because they all look really similar.
I mean,
like she has a bunch of girls that are around her age that look very similar to her.
I guess. I don't know.
So I don't know either.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the best parts of this movie.
All right. So I think one of the best things, just coming from the prequels in general, it's probably like one of the, I think maybe the best thing potentially is the world building that it does.
That's 100% the best part.
Yeah, I think, you know, the Gungan city is cool. I think the concept of a droid army is very cool as well. And it makes sense just because, you know, you can just make an army instead of like having to breed, train up an army and like, you know, all this other stuff here. I think Sebulba's like species is really cool looking. You know, you got this crazy dude that's like walking on his hands and like using his feet to like actually like do stuff with and all that. Coruscant, really cool city. Yep. I mean, just like pretty much the New York of Star Wars for the most part. Yeah. And like I said, Gungan warfare, you know, instead of like just giving a bunch of aliens a bunch of guns, it's like, no, we're going to have them like actually have shields. They're going to just basically have like shock grenades here and all that. And they're actually going to have like actual like animal mounts and all that. I'm like, no, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, tribal.
Really cool idea. And then the Jedi Order. I mean,
oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I think the best parts of this movie and the parts that actually I think kind of live up to the greatness of like, you know, the original trilogy is like the stuff about the Sith and the Jedi here. Mm-hmm. And you know, like we discussed earlier, ObiWan is really cool in this movie. I mean, he's not really played for comic relief. He's not getting his butt kicked, you know, a lot or whatnot. And one of the lines that I really liked from Obi-Wan was when Qui Gon was bringing back all the parts and stuff. And he's going back to get Anakin, and then Obi-Wan is like, "Why do I sense we've picked up another pathetic life form?" And this was after they picked up Jar Jar previously. I'm like, ouch. Like Obi-Wan getting super savage right there. But and pod racing is good because Anakin doesn't say anything during that time.
Yeah.
And CGI holds up pretty well.
Yes, it does.
And then Darth Maul. Absolute baller. Like Darth Maul is my favorite Star Wars character.
Even from his like when it was in the hologram and he walks in.
Oh, he's so like, cool looking.
I thought that was like the coolest intro of a character ever.
Well, you really don't get to see how he like completely looks until like that last scene where he like takes off his hood here, just because you just think like, oh, this dude's got like some crazy like face paint stuff going on here or something like that. And yeah, but no, even like the scene where like he's chasing down Qui-Gon and Anakin as they're going to the ship, even that scene's dope here, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, but best part of the movie is the Darth Maul fight. I mean, hands down.
Time.
I mean, and Duel of the Fates, best Star Wars song.
Yeah, I agree.
I said it.
Yeah. So for me, I would agree with you. World building is probably the biggest, coolest part of this movie. Obi-Wan's awesome. The lightsaber fights, and I don't care. And people get hate on me as much as they want. 110% superior to any fight in the original movies. That fight with Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Maul, hands down, way better than anything in the original series.
No, I will agree. I mean,
and in the prequels.
Yeah, I mean the choreography in that fight is absolutely. Yeah, I think it is the best choreographed lightsaber fight. I don't know if it's necessarily the best because Obi-Wan versus Anakin.
I'd say it's one of the. I didn't say it was better than any of the prequels. I said it was better than the originals and the sequel.
Okay. Oh, and the sequel. Okay, yeah. But
Anakin and Obi-Wan's the best fight in Star Wars.
You know, I think you might be right on it. I'd have to rewatch it, but yeah, I think just based on like all the elements that are there, like the choreography, the weight that carries and all that. Yeah. But yeah.
Maul's a boss. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. Let's see. Oh, so this is just something I thought of talking about Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Is Jar Jar being Stephanie Tanner from Full House?
Oh yeah. How rude.
Goes, how rude.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, George Lucas at home watching Full House with his kids.
Freaking plagiarizing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between almost even not Qui-Gon, but like the life debt thing with Jar Jar, debt thing with Chewie.
Yeah, and Han and all that. Yeah.
Split kicks are all the rage. Obi-Wan likes a split kick.
Yep, he does.
And then I forgot R2's Padme's.
Yeah.
To begin with.
Now, that does get into a criticism I do have about this movie, and I think just the prequels in general. I think R2 and C-3PO are definitely shoehorned pretty hard into this trilogy. Now, in this movie...
C-3PO is not in it that much.
Yeah, and now in this movie, it's not that bad. Like, right. I think they really just kind of...
It was the origin pretty much of them.
Yeah, for the most part. But like you get to episode 2 and it gets like, okay, it just gets ridiculous at that point.
Yeah, I thought this movie had a lot of prophetic stuff in it. Anakin's dream he had as being a Jedi.
Yep.
Thinks Qui-Gon came to save him. Shimmy also thinks that he has no dad. He's the chosen one. He's discount Jesus.
Yeah. Real discount Jesus.
Super discount. Not even close. But
Dollar Tree.
And then just seeing that part of Tatooine, like, where's all this stuff in A New Hope?
Well, I mean, it's getting to, like, you know, my biggest criticisms of, like, doing prequels because, I mean, basically when you do a prequel, you create plot holes.
And then, totally. So the other thing I had was, so that little alien kid.
Oh, yeah, Greedo.
Yeah, is that baby Guido?
Greedo.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. Maybe.
Makes sense.
I mean, you know, we in Star Wars we've had Baby Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that Clone Wars movie that came out before the Clone Wars show even became a thing. We had Baby Jabba the Hutt in that movie.
Yeah.
And so why not Baby Greedo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something I thought was interesting, lasers coming out of the ships and all that stuff were orange, not red or green.
Now, which ships are we talking about?
Like all of them, like the droid ships.
But I mean, yeah, but it is different. Like, it's not the same ships as like they were in like Empire.
No, I'm saying like I'll have to read episode 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're ever orange in those two.
Really?
It was just weird that they were orange to me.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe they're not. I just know them as being red or green.
Well, yeah, no, and
or blue, I guess.
Well, yeah, and historically that's how it's been for the most part, at least like in the original trilogy, because it's like TIE fighters shoot green lasers, and then the rebels shoot red lasers, right? Is that how?
For the most part, there's some
yeah.
stuff that I think shoot different colors.
Yeah,
but.
yeah, I don't know. I remember I paid a lot of attention to that when I was a kid, but I just paid no attention to it as an adult. But oh well.
Anakin accidentally blows up the space station, saves the day.
Yeah,
and people give crap about the Death Star.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the reason for that is just because, let's be honest, New Hope is a better made movie, and you know, when you have like maybe just like one thing that's kind of glaring over it, it's kind of easier to focus on that, where like this movie has like a lot of things that, you know, is glaring.
So there's not a lot of good quotes in this movie.
No, not really.
Really, the only one I like is that I've got a bad feeling about this that ObiWan does, because it's a direct throwback to the original movie.
No, it's a paying homage here basically.
But other than that, I was trying to like think of ones, and then you have like the Yoda stuff, like fear leads to hate, hate leads to, or fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to the dark side.
But that's nothing that we really haven't heard before in some way, shape, or form.
But yeah, other than that, final thoughts.
Great. So, all right. So this movie, George Lucas lost his touch. I mean, it's just how it is. And I understand, yes, this is him kind of trying to make more of a kid's movie. And, you know, to a certain extent, Star Wars is kind of a kid's movie for the, you know, you can have your kids watch it and all that. But I think he really kind of left the adults behind on this one here, for like by and large here. And I think one of the things that I think this movie has a problem with is 70% of it is not like directly correlated to the original trilogy or really setting up the original trilogy, because you have stuff like Naboo and all these other things like Gungans and whatnot, that if you chop that out, or like, let's say you even like just chop most of this movie up, or, you know, just disregard it, and then you just have episode 2 and 3. I mean, those two are a lot more closely related and correlated to, you know, the original trilogy. But I think bad acting, poor pacing, and just, you know, the CGI heaviness of this movie definitely weigh it down. I think the only parts that live up to this movie, or the legacy of the original trilogy in this movie, are the Jedi and the Sith stuff here. I think everything else is just kind of like, this is like almost discount Star Wars, or for the most part, yeah. And I mean, I think, you know, just like with like, you know, how New Hope and Empire, they are both contenders for like the best Star Wars movie. I think Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones are contenders for the worst Star Wars movie in the Skywalker saga.
I agree.
I mean, the thing is like, I know I'm being kind of harsh on this movie. I mean, I don't hate this movie, because I did enjoy myself watching this movie just because it is nostalgic. And like I said, I grew up with this movie. Like, I loved it as a kid. But I mean, if I'm being objective, I'd have to say this is the worst Star Wars movie that has come out for the Skywalker storyline.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think it's a good setup for the original trilogy personally.
Yeah.
Just because all the political stuff we get to see that we didn't get to see in those movies.
Fair enough.
I like the fighting. I think the action's better than a lot of the other movies.
No, you are correct on that.
This is still probably ranked, my bottom 2, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's second to last for me.
Yeah. Now, one question I do have. So, like, if we were to, like, rate the quality, so, like, let's say, like, Empire Strikes Back is a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where would this, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like, where would you place this movie?
7.
You put it at a 7, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in general, or just for Star Wars?
I think just for Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know, 6.5, 7.
6.5. Yeah, I'm probably maybe at maybe 5. Maybe I'm not entirely sure.
What about for like a normal entertaining movie?
I don't know. That's a tricky one.
I would say 7 for like an entertaining movie.
For an entertaining movie, maybe a 6. I don't know. It's hard to think about it in this capacity, just because, again, like, you have nostalgia and you just typically think of Star Wars movies as, you rank them against Star Wars movies for the most part.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know where to rank this quite yet. I'll probably have a better number when we finalize our watch through.
Yeah.
That's all we got for you guys. Thanks for listening. You can check us out on our social medias. We greatly appreciate it. YouTube, support us on Patreon. All that good jazz. Have an awesome week. And remember, everyone's a nerd about something. May the Force be with you.